just get the wet from those bad storms.
Oh, okay. So not too bad. Oh my gosh, yeah. Look, when you look at the Weather Channel, it always looks bad, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that's not too bad where you are. I'm guilty of that first line there. I do spend more time on my 1 week than I'm spending on my 10 to 30 years. But I don't know how to plan for 10 to 30 years. That's what I don't know. I don't know what to do. What do I do?
Well, you can call me. We can sit down and talk about it. No, no, but seriously.
I did. You're on the phone.
It's sitting down, working out, listing your goals, listing your objectives, listing your current resources, what your anticipated future resources are going to be, factoring inflation in there, maybe some variables for health care and vacations, and and really just chart it out. And what I kind of become is, for my clients, is their GPS. And when we set up a plan, it's kind of like sitting down and drawing out your vacation trip.
Yeah.
You get your map out, you draw it out, but you may have detours along the way, and so you just want to make those subtle detours. So if you're taking care of it on a regular basis and you have a plan, when those anomalies come up, the fixes are a lot easier than if you just sit back and let it happen.
Okay. So let's say I'm planning a road trip from here to Alabama. Let's just use your state as an example. And I never think in terms of there's going to be a wreck on I-75, or there's going to be a sinkhole at the state line or something like
exactly.
that. Okay, so those are the things that happen in a trip. What happens in the course of your money? Does a president, using kind of the talking point that I was given, does a president actually change our course of what we need to do?
I've always been under the belief that presidents actually have a greater impact on the economy as they're removing obstacles. Because presidents either remove obstacles or place obstacles. The economy is going to figure out how to get around that obstacle one way or another. Now, we may have sluggish growth, we may have recessions, we may have many different things. But if the president is actually looking to improve business and spending less time, trying to satisfy people who are putting money in his pocket for campaign contributions, then he can take those regulations off. When we look at some of the regulations we have, they go back so many years, and they should have been taken off the books a long time ago. And so, a president can remove obstacles, but he can also put them in there. And so I don't think it's so much the president just creates a great economy as he just kind of carves away those things that prevents it.
In a world where pensions is not even a word in our vocabulary anymore, and most of us are kind of relying on 401k plans and things of that nature, do you have a way of telling us which investments we should turn to, and how do we keep an eye on them? How do we know whether there's a pothole in the road or something?
Well, and that's a good question. The key is, and I think going future, we've had a lot of years of growth. We've had, the last few years, we've had really government-induced growth. I mean, with bringing the interest rates so down, the only place in town for people to put their money was the stock market. Well, that's not going to last forever. And so looking at investing for income, looking at things like preferred stocks and individual bonds and things like that. If you can set up, and one of the things I do for my clients is help them set up something where they're going to have fairly predictable and consistent income, then you're not relying on growth. So if you're cashing out your stocks to fund your income, and the stock market goes down, then you've impacted your future. You've had that big sinkhole on I-85 that you're now having to go all the way around Atlanta, since you were using that analogy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Instead of knowing, hey, my investments may fluctuate up and down in value, but my income's going to be consistent.
Does the survey reflect the feelings of the millennials for job security?
Well, probably as I look at these numbers, it seems like everything's always split three ways down the middle. It'll probably be all right, no, it won't be, or I'm not sure. And what I look at the future, the manufacturing jobs that people depended on for so many years in the past, where you went in and you you signed up for the company your dad worked at. Those jobs are gone. I mean, industry's changing so rapidly; it's moving to other countries. So, most of these millennials are going to change careers several times and jobs many times over the course of their job. So, what I think we look at is things like taxes, making it advantageous for small business to hire because they're the main driving force in the economy, reducing regulations so that so that they have a clear playing field in front of them, a clear road in front of them to drive. And I think one of the big things too when it comes to jobs is wages have been fairly stagnant, but we've also had a lot of immigration issues. Right. So when you're bringing in a lot of low-paid employees and potential employees, well, it's just a supply and demand thing. You're going to push wages down. In fact, there was a story this week that there's a federal government called optional practical training, and what it does is it gives companies tax breaks to hire graduates from our universities from overseas, and they get to pay them less. And there were 329,000 of those granted in 2016.
Wow.
So here we have American citizens that are graduating from college with debt, and the government's giving incentive to companies to hire foreigners.
Oh my gosh.
That's the kind of thing that the president needs to fix.
That's the kind of, you're absolutely right. Oh my gosh. I hope the president asks Brad Williams.
Yes, me too.
That's the website, askbradwilliams.com. All right, so does that information on your website, I mean, obviously we're not all the president, but we are of our lives. So do I go to the website to kind of give myself a GPS test and see a GPS, what you know what I'm saying? Do I test my own place and see where I'm going and how I'm going to get there?
Well, what I do is, when people come to the website, there's some informative articles there that will direct them some of the things they can do. But what I tell people, come in for a free hour consultation. We sit down and take a look at where you are, where you want to go, and try to chart out a roadmap. And if that makes sense, we can do business.
A few videos on here I'm going to look at later on. Right sizing for retirement plan distributions, a few things. We don't pay attention to everybody else's expertise, and that's why we go to experts like yourself. I'll never know as much as you do about investing money. That's why I'll always lean on somebody who knows. Brad, thank you for taking time out of your day today.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we will take a break. Be right back.